Hey there, welcome to Worth It Wednesday. Every Wednesday we send a principle worth learning, a question worth answering, and a recommendation worth taking. Today's principle is that mundanity amplifies majesty. And this is one that I was thinking about related to running because I'm a runner. I've been a runner for a long time. And what's so cool in starting this business is I get to travel to some pretty incredible places. And as we talked about in the email, I've gotten to go on some pretty incredible runs, some runs that I'll never forget, and some runs that really there's no way to describe them other than that they were majestic. Places like La Jolla, California, or Alaska, or Washington, D.C. on the National Mall is just, moments that, like, in some ways took my breath away, right? But what I think I often don't present on social media and things like that is that that is not most of my runs, right? And I'm sure you can relate to this. Most of the runs that I go on are pretty routine, pretty regular, pretty consistent, pretty mundane, and honestly kind of boring. And one of the things that I was just reflecting on recently is that, man, in the absence of the mundane and boring runs, it's almost like the majestic runs would be less majestic. And so it's like the ability to appreciate the majesty of these incredible places that I get to go is sometimes amplified by the ones that are just consistent and regular and routine. And so I guess the takeaway from all this is that both are virtues. Majesty is a virtue, absolutely, and it's something that I believe God gave us, right? That these incredible places, these incredible experiences, these circumstances, and these moments that are so powerful, they create a sense of awe. And ultimately, like in some ways, I think they create a sense of worship. But then there's also this kind of complementary virtue of mundanity, not majestic, mundane. Things that are regular, things that are routine, things that are consistent, things that are boring. And what I think is so important for myself to remember is that if I over-index on pursuing majestic, I miss out on the value and power of consistency. But if I over-index on consistency, then although I'll be someone that's incredibly efficient, I miss out on the things that are unexpected, spontaneous, and majestic. And so what does that mean for us from a leadership perspective, but also from a personal perspective? It means that we should pursue both, and that we should not look for a life that is devoid of mundanity, because that looks like a person that is incredibly sporadic and uncentered and doesn't ever make any of the consistent deposits necessary to create real, lasting, sustainable results. But then in the pursuit of all that mundanity, we shouldn't miss out on the majesty. And we better live with our eyes open, and we better pay attention, and we better be seeking out moments with people and with circumstances and with locations that we are just able to sit and be present, and more than that, be flooded with gratitude. We need both, and they're not competing, they're complementary, because mundanity amplifies majesty. Y'all have a great Wednesday.